Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth and Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino on what I started doing this in 1998. 2 years off. This might be the coldest drive-in I've ever had. Might be the coldest drive-in anywhere in the Capital District ever. But cold is an understatement. And
I went out for a little, let it warm up, and there was like a brief moment where I thought,
mine gurgled a little bit.
Took a second to crank.
She's a beast, but she gurgled a little bit.
And I popped in, took the shower, got dressed. We were sitting there for about 20 minutes.
Not enough.
It still wasn't.
Not enough.
It was better than the outside temperature,
Yes.
but it was
Yes.
not pumping out real heat.
No, I think I did. Usually about 10 days a year where I'm going to start the car early. Today was one of them, and I gave it a while because I'm usually early.
I got it in my dashboard thermometer at minus 13.
Okay. And what's funny was, it's just not funny, but it made an easy decision for the Mormino family. But one of the things we tried to do to broaden Anthony's horizons is one of the things is to go to all the states, stay overnight, etc. And New Hampshire is still on the board. And the place that we're probably going to end up going is that resort, Mount Washington. We had skiing and also summertime one. Well, the fact that it had 90-mile-per-hour winds and was negative 145 on the wind chill factor made it a summertime. We will not be skiing in New Hampshire. We will be going to Mount Washington in the state of New Hampshire in a spring-summertime event. There was
That's typically one of those places they focus on in these types of situations.
This Twitter feed showed it, and it was remarkable. And I don't mean remarkable in a two thumbs up way. I mean just cold, cold, cold. So as I'm sure practically everybody in our audience knows, the Big A canceled their racing for Friday and for Saturday into Thursday. So we're gonna have Florida covered here. Obviously a good day out at Santa Anita for racing. So just stay tuned to the network. No Big A today. A couple things. We'll go over these. Obviously I ran yesterday winning 7 in a row at Gulfstream Park. You would maybe remember this, except in particular, when Stevie Coughlin got on that roll, which was actually the year before affirmed. I think his agent was Lenny Goodman. In those days, you didn't have to announce a jockey at the entries. So Lenny just waited and waited and waited. So as long as he could, he picked the best horse, and he went on those terrific weeks at Aqueduct. I mean, it was just incredible. Now you have to, drop the entry with the jock on it, and he won 7 in a row. 4 favorites, 3 second choices. But how about the barns? Larry Ravelli, Safi Joseph, Todd Fletcher, Jose Garofalo. It's a great achievement. We talk about this all the time. It's like he's riding live horses all day. I mean,
and Peter Aiello made them all. I think 4 or 5 other people had done it down at Gulfstream.
Yes.
Peter Aiello said, but nobody did it in 7 in a row. I'm not really giving them. I think that's a fun fact.
Yeah,
I think you win 7 on a day. Yeah. They're all in the same club. 7 in a row is just kind of a fluky.
Yeah.
It made it kind of fun and extra special to watch yesterday. But I don't think, I think 7 in a day is big regardless.
Absolutely. I mean, he didn't win the first, he didn't win the last. It was a tremendous accomplishment. Like I said, 720 was the high water mark. Money. I think that's part of the relevancy of it, because we talked about 3 weeks ago. Was it Manny? Or Manny had the 6, yeah. And I was saying how he was in 6 different barns, and the prices were dramatically different. And that's an example where, and I think most of the audience are familiar with my work, those 6, to me, are more impressive than IRAD 7.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's, you know, when I did the ROIs this summer on first 4 or 5 weeks with Racing Class America, I think it was on Wednesdays, you know, I talked about it's not the jockey's fault that they paid $4. Like, IRAD will never have a positive ROI, I said, but they're on the live horses, and something has to be said for that. They're on the first or second live horses. I mean, he is a tremendous jockey, but there's a reason they find his phone number. I think Steve Rushing is his agent. There's a reason they find him, because they know he's great, so I want him to ride my live horse, and that fits. Now, my favorite thing, though, is on Thursday, and this has happened before. When I mentioned this a couple of years ago, remember we used to do the bankrolls? You could never do them because you have other duties. The other side, at Saratoga, we do weekend bankrolls. And I had this happen. Somebody, like, after the fact called me up and said this didn't happen. But my point is, where the pick 4 paid less than the pick 3 of the same races. So I said, so let me get this straight. You have to run another race and lose. Now, the increment...
I didn't see that, but I did see that the pick 5, the early pick 5 on Thursday paid 21.
Well, the late one was the one that paid about $1.12, and in the last race, the pick 3 paid more than the pick 4 in the finale on Thursday. And I just laughed. I'm like, so let me get it straight. I have to take the risk of running another race, and I get less money. Now, clearly, it happens quite infrequently, but you have to scratch your head going, that's not good at all. That's unbelievable. But yeah, they did not have a double-digit priced horse on Thursday. As Seth, man, you know, and this is, I don't think anybody advocates the $20 pick 5, but I really wouldn't be inclined to be interested in the $112 one. I just, you know, and I hear Andy Sterling, who's much smarter than me in these areas without any question about, they talk about playing defensively and all that. I'm just like, I've said this before, and I really, you know, I don't play it, so I should, you know, not say it, but I don't think in the long run, I don't think that helps. It's like, I think the math doesn't work, and I also don't think I want to sit around for 2 hours hitting 5 races in a row to win $20.
No, I like to pick bets.
I know you do.
I try to keep the tickets reasonable. You know, you hit them in the $40 range or something. So you hit the 120, you're like, yeah, triple my money. But you're like, yeah, triple my money. Yeah, you're hoping that you get 400 or 500 at least, or upwards from that. So yeah, you get 120 for the size ticket I put together. It's like, yeah, okay, I have some dough to play again tomorrow.
The one example I used was a pick 4 that I did play. It actually won, and the back end was a big race. So I'll bring it up. This is 20 years ago. This was Test Stakes Day, and Extra Heat was against Victory Ride, and I loved Victory Ride. She had just come off a huge defeat in the Acorn. I think there was a $100 winner in the Acorn. That was the old days when the Acorn was run on Friday and had the Acorn Belmont double. So I love Victory Ride. I mean, Extra Heat's in the Hall of Fame, rightfully so, but I love Victory Ride. And there was this 3 horses leading up to, I think one was Midway Road. It said 3 stickouts. Now, you have to bet blind into it, but I'm like, all right, there's 2 horses in the back end, we'll see. Now, what shocked me was Victory Ride ended up being the chalk in the test, which I didn't think. I thought they'd go for Extra Heat, etc. And, you know, they won, and I won. But when I walked away, I was like, you know, I don't think I would play a pick, if it wasn't a pick 5 yet, by the way. I would not play a pick 4 using more than 2 favorites anymore. I just walked away going, I just think that, etc. So that's my point. Brian Nadeau and I, we talk about it a lot. He does believe in defense and keeping your bankroll alive. Now, the thing that I said is, well, what about a weekend warrior where you play the ticket really on Saturday, maybe Saturday, Sunday? It's not really about your bankroll being live because you're going to make more money to bet. It's not a daily thing. I was like, I wouldn't want more than 2 favorites in the Big 5. I should look it up someday, and maybe I will do like a 90-day study when 3 favorites are in the Big 5. Where does it fall off? You're just like, I'm not winning 5 races for $100.
I'm more interested in looking at it if I can get a couple of 15 or 20 to 1 shots in the mix and think they're live and but I'll have the favorites in those races too. So I'm
So
using
you
the
do play
favorites.
defensively.
Yeah, so I'm using the
Okay.
favorites, but I'm interested, if I'm looking at the pick four sequence and thinking, this is gonna chalk out, then I'm not interested. But if you can look
And that's where,
and see, hey, there's a couple of prices that I think could be live, and maybe, I think if you beat one favorite at pick four, maybe not. You beat a couple of favorites though, so you can have a couple of, you beat a
yeah.
couple of.
Now, we've talked about this before, because you do Gulfstream Park, with the jackpot ones, I'm like, if you're trying, you're betting differently whether you want to win a part of the pool or the jackpot. Because you can't, I would bet the jackpot players, if we ever talk to those groups off the record, they must have no favorites. Like, I can't be on the favorites and I'm trying to win the jackpot. I won't be the lone winner. Be very interested in how many favorites they would take for the people that are going, because Seth told me, you're trying to win your portion of the thing. You have no illusions that
Yeah, when
with the jackpot,
that carryover gets big enough, yeah, I'm just looking to
grab a slice of the pie.
for $1,200
Because-
or something like that. And you're right, it's somebody who's looking for the jackpot, they've got to be putting a different ticket together, because
Completely different. They
you
won't
wind up the lone person if you're way off the radar.
You have to be.
Yeah.
You know, I've never looked at those winning tickets. Maybe I'll start paying attention when they take it down, these home ones, and see how many chalks they've taken. And of course, a chalk at $350 is different than one that's $720. So the actual neutral price does matter. But
Yeah,
I'm like,
you get a 12-horse field, you have a 3-to-1 favorite.
you've eliminated some people on that. But so a great day for Irad Ortiz, already setting the bar high for defending his Eclipse Award after that great day down in South Florida, and another terrific day of racing at Gulfstream Park, which I have. Seth does Tampa. Who do you have on Racing Across America later on?
10 o'clock, we'll be joined by Jeremy Plum. We tried to get him on a couple weeks ago. We had some technical difficulties, but I want to get him on to talk sportsplayer.now.com, a website in downtown to the ground. We typically have him on during the Derby Trail and the lead up to the Triple Crown, talking 3-year-olds, and I thought we'd kind of kick off that discussion today. We'll talk a little bit about the Bob Lewis out at. I wrote there. We'll talk a little bit about the Bob Lewis out there. Baffert has all the horses, so we'll talk about that.
They still have,
Obviously, the Holy Bull as well.
3.5 weeks to make decisions on. They have the court case going.
The court case wound up yesterday, and the judge didn't set an actual date, but one of the articles I read said they thought probably before the end of the month. So we'll see.
Yeah, there is a time sensitive. I've always thought like it's hard to imagine because, generally speaking, tracks get to set their own ground rules, like whether they suspend jockeys or things like that. There hasn't been much
Reading the
legal
things to me,
redress.
he's up against it.
Yeah, I think he is, and if he is, he's got to disperse all these horses by February 28th, right? So he's in, nowadays in the horse parlance, horses don't run more than once a month, so we're getting near the end of his horses in Southern California running.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, being on suspension at Churchill, Baffert, his horses can't earn points for the Derby. So if he wants to, he has some nice 3-year-olds,
Right.
and if he wants to stay on,
And this
all
is
the owners want them into the Derby.
I'm not saying this is the route to go, but in life you realize this. You put the squeeze on the owners. They have to make a decision. The old idea about what trainers should get in trouble is long been advocated that if you suspended the owners, they're not going to send their horses to trainers that they think have a problem because the price is too high to pay. So these owners, with the squeeze on the owners, are like, you're going to have to get them out of his barn or else you're not going to the Kentucky Derby, is a power play that's quite useful.
Yeah.
It's not like the old, do you remember when Cleveland Johnson used to be when Richard Jutro first started getting in trouble in New York, Cleveland Johnson would win like 7 races in 2 weeks. Look him up on Equidaily someday, and he'd be like, and then he wasn't in the form for like 10 years and he popped up again. You ready? We're going to go Gulfstream Park, then Tampa Bay. Is that the order we like?
Yes, a little East Coast, West Coast of Florida. We will live vicariously.
I am doing Gulfstream Park, obviously, as I said earlier. The Big A, no racing today, but they are scheduled to be back on the board tomorrow, and we will obviously have them. But, boy, as I was watching the network yesterday, and listen to Frank Miramotti calling at San Diego. I said to my wife, I said, you know, this is going to be the voice you're going to hear at Saratoga this summer. And she's just looking out. She goes, I'd like to hear his voice today. It was beautiful at Santa Anita yesterday.
All right, and they have a nice card today as well. I mean, the Bob
Yeah.
Lewis, as they say, with the Dapper Rars, maybe not indicative, but other than that, it's a nice card. But at Gulfstream today, they have a nice card as well, highlighted by some nice stakes action in the Holy Bull. But they kick things off 11:50 this morning with a conditional claimer, 7.5 on the grass.
You know, and I've said this before, thinking about these races, I love to talk to them. Maybe when I see Todd Fletcher this summer, they all complain about the short run in the first turn. Why don't you just run a mile? I don't get this attraction, the 7.5 furlongs when 2 or 3 posts are bad. I mean, it's not like you're asking them to run a mile and 3/8. You're like, and then the other side was the run up is reported sometimes to be like 200 feet, which is almost, you know. So I don't get it. It's a tough road. 6, 7, 10, and I'll get the cheers for Kitten in a moment. But Flatter Me is a big upset pick in here, and I thought the post position hurts a couple of these shorter price morning line horses, and 6 is about as far out as I want to go. But I think this runner, if I throw out the last race, which was the first race since September 4th, is competitive in here with a little bit of an advantage. And as I said, at 15-1, I think I got a small chance. I think I have early energy. I think I'm going to get a nice run into the first turn. I certainly hope so to save ground. And maybe perhaps the post position will hurt a couple of the more contentious runners in here. We get Flatter Me to kick off the card. You know, he's got to get the distance. You know, he got whooped up on at this condition most recently. But I think I have a couple of things going my way, and I hope we get to the finish line first with a huge price. Flatter Me, my top pick. For second, right next to it in the starting gate, number 7, Warp Speed Baby. Well, we certainly hope so. This horse is a major player in here. And I thought, if you asked me before the morning line came out, that this guy, based on post position and the early speed, and with getting Tyler Gaffalione today, would be the chalk. Yes, we're 0 for 8. I take my chances, though. I have actually Warp Speed Baby, who's 4-1 on the morning line as the horse to beat in this race. And for third, number 10, Cheers for Kitten. 1 on debut. That was on the synthetic, sprinting and offspring of Kitten's Joy. They're running the Kitten's Joy today, so I guess there's something there. And I like where they put, I know he's had his moments not in the sun, but I do like the fact that it's listed as Ken Ramsey and the estate of Sarah Ramsey, who obviously passed away recently, but he keeps her name on the ownership. So 6, 7, 10 in Gulfstream's full field opener.
Second race at Gulfstream this afternoon. We're looking at maiden claimers on the synthetic and Iowa 7.
Now, I was thinking, don't they have 2 Kitten Series races at Gulfstream? One is for the oldest, the old Appleton Stakes.
Oh,
And then today is the subset that you like that I'll get into a little bit more coming up. Okay, on to the synthetic 635, ladies and gentlemen in here, and always connected. We certainly hope so, as pointers today for George Weaver. And I've talked about this in the New York red ranks, particularly at 2 level, maiden claimers 40 and 20. Well, this horse has gone from maiden specials, maiden 40 to 20, now 12.5. Maybe Water seeks its own level. We come off of the Turk race, but before then, a good effort on the synthetic. For second, number 3, Catsack Gal. Sharp effort on off of a layoff in October on the Gulfstream Park synthetic. Like that second place finish. Hopefully we're recycling into a best effort for number 3, Catsack Gal, with Jose Ortiz at the third. The 9-5 favorite, number 5, going out on back-to-back second place finishes at this level. 6-3-5.
I also put Always Connected on top. I'm certainly rooting for that one. Goes out for Dan Collins and our friends at Bonaventure Stable. So local connection there.
Very nice.
Rooting for them. The third at Gulfstream today, a maiden optional claimer, 6.5 roll.
8-5-3. And I just want to touch on the 7 here. We talk about Saratoga from time to time. So Phoenix Thoroughbred made $145,000. Put some money into it, getting the horse broken, training, and now drops in for 40 for the debut. From a public handicapper standpoint, I'm just against those horses. We're looking at 9-2 on the morning line. And I always wonder if they're sitting there going, you know, a real cold, but please just take it. I'll just let me put a bow on this negative interaction and just get rid of it. Or if they're trying to slide one through, but tough to go there. Not in my mix, which is why I brought up 8-5-3. Jackson's Web on the outside. Come 2 races back, going 7-8 in the middle of December. Well beaten, but a second place finish. And then had no chance at this level most recently, but winding back, horse put out a big effort, little regression. I'm on the outside now, hoping that Jackson's Web has a forward move in him today. For second, number 5, Chief Rocca. This will be the second start after a nearly 370-day layoff. I told you I do not worry one iota about those things anymore. What I do like was showed good early speed and then fatigued and backed up. Let's see if we move forward off of that return to the races. For third, number 3, Clever Enough. Joe Orsino. This runner has been second twice in the Ford career start. Second time sprinting on dirt. 8-5-3.
And I'll say this about with purpose in that angle. I'm with you most of the time, but it's one of the times in the PPs and in handicapping where I factor in the owner, and that doesn't happen very often.
Okay.
But there are some owners with deep enough pockets, and they buy enough horses during the year that I think
Call the band.
the horse might have some talent, but it wasn't the level of talent they expected, and they're perfectly happy to get rid of it and get a win as well. So there's sometimes I'll use one like that, and I'm not familiar enough with Phoenix Thoroughbreds to do that there. I totally agree with you that in this situation, and most of the time probably, but there are times where I might go towards them. Again, reading something that you don't normally read. The fourth at Gulfstream conditional claimant, 5-1.
The race goes through the 5, which we'll touch on in a moment, but I am 7-5-4 here. Hair to the roar gets my top pick. Had a couple starts at Gulfstream Park on the synthetic in the spring summer meet, and then was laid off for 6 months, practically 6 months. I like the comeback race at a big price, sprinting on the synthetic. For second, number 5, DeMorley goes out for Sappy Joseph. Like, not only had he 2 with Irad yesterday, he'll remember this, is he had one of the other ones, he had the tip-off yesterday, so that's a good score there. But what I liked about this, I just want to touch on this, because you look at the October 2nd race at Gulfstream Park, claim from Roger Warren, who is a name that, for those who aren't familiar, son of Lucian Warren, won the first Breeders' Cup race ever with Chief's Crown, which was, coming up to, 38 and a half years ago. And, really was a bigger player in the game. And it's, I looked him up about 6-8 months ago, just wondering if he was still in the game, and he was, but he plays it at such a low level. It's probably the first time I've seen it, but Roger Warren was, obviously the son of Secretariat's trainer. Big thing there, his name showed up. I was like, wow. I didn't even talk about it. Howie Tesher passed away. I was thinking along the same lines. A group of men who were trainers all in my youth. They were there, and obviously we worked with Howie for years. But the Morley major player in here, the race runs through now 4-5 on the board, and for third, Lena the Lion goes out for Jose. Second start since April, and a terrific comeback race at nearly 20-1. I was fearful, as I often am. The layoff doesn't bother me one iota anymore, but what I do consider often is a big physical performance off of that layoff. And then we're looking at 3-1 on the morning line. That's a regression for me. 7-5-4 in the fourth.
Yeah, Howie Tesher, and of course, as you say, we kind of knew those guys. Yeah. We're doing the OTV, we used to do the New York OTV shows up on our Saratoga set. Howie and Rick Lang, back in those days. And Mitch LeVay's in the control room for a while.
In control.
Exactly. The fifth at Gulfstream this afternoon. Maiden specials going a mile on the grass.
I'll never forget when I think it was Howie now is this last Bull and Heather won the Florida Derby 30 years ago. 93, 30 years ago, being a 30th anniversary of Bull and Heather. Bull and Heather didn't go on to do too much, but I'll never forget it because I didn't.
Seemed promising at that point.
Yeah, and I hadn't even really gotten into the game on this side of it. And a friend of mine who used to do the Gulfstream Park, he goes, he was like, he was just telling me he was a very nice man. I'm glad he won his major score for him, but yeah, 9-6-1 in the fifth for me, and for those historical fans, number 9, Jamestown. Against my top pick, making a third career start. Started in a sprint. Now, one thing you have to, the form does some things really well. The off-the-turf thing was a great thing they started years ago. But now you have to remember, they go to synthetic at Gulfstream Park. They don't go to the turf. But then the turf debut was a very sharp effort in the second career start. And 8-1 on the morning line, so I'll take Jamestown on top for second. Number 6, Carlin Clan left the Marcassi barn. Hasn't run since October, off back-to-back defeats on the turf, going 7 and a mile. Remember, at Woodbine, as with Belmont, it's a one-turn, 7 furlong mile. And then for third, and you're just going to watch the board here. Number 1, Just So, the familiar Navy Silks of Galileo, the Wagners, an offspring of Justified, out of Turbulent Descent. You remember her probably, Chad Brown. 5-1 on the morning line. It's one of those things where this might, from my seat, might sound the opposite of what you usually hear. If this horse is 8 or 9-1, I really want no part of this horse with these connections. If they bet them, I'm like, okay. But this is not a case where a first-time starter's odds go up. I'm excited. Because of these connections, I would be unexcited. 9-6-1. I said with Justified being my Scat Daddy Triple Crown winner, I have to tell you that in the long run, and Justified had a terrific juvenile season last year. Turf, to me with the Scat Daddies is very relevant.
6th race, stakes action, the Great Three Swale, $125,000, 3-year-old sprinting 7, and I'm excited to see Super Child. This is a really nice horse, and given what we've seen so far, I think they're clued in that we have a sprinter, and
yes.
I don't think the siren call of the Derby
No.
will attract them. Good for them.
You're 100% right. A Swell, one of my all-time favorite horses. As a matter of fact, I can tell you something. I never asked Seth Hancock, but it was one of the first times they ever ran a horse. They have always been breeders. Claiborne does not run horses. Matter of fact, Swell and Lore and Preach, I could probably count on one hand the number of horses, but I think Swell was like one of the first horses they ran in like a generation.
Did Swell belong to be one of those Woody Belmont street horses?
Yeah. Second to third to last, the middle one. He's the third one. So you got Bequisor, Cielo, Caveat, Swell, Creme Fraiche, Danzig Connection, the 5. But great horse. Obviously, I think he died 8 days after Belmont. He was a second stringer behind Devil's Bag, brilliant. One of the greatest 2-year-olds on dirt I've ever seen. He went bad in the Flamingo. Swell, just a workman-like horse. Dave Pincaya's only Derby win in '84. Lucas's filly Althea was the chalk with Life's Magic, but Swell won it up the track in the Preakness and then winner of the. But what's funny was, what's good about this is, I like to tease when they get the races completely wrong. His Florida Derby was great, beating Dr. Carter. Just a great performance, and they used to run the Swell, the undercard of the Florida Derby. It was easy goers, 3-year-old debut. Terrific race. I'm 1-2-6 in here, and General Jim adds blinkers today. Shug McGahee sends out this runner with Luis Saez, who's been the regular rider. Tried turf, tried a mile on dirt most recently. Shortens up to 7. According to the buyer speed figures, yes, I have to pick it up a little bit in here for second. Number 2. First time versus winners in here. This was a bomber for me, Kianov, thinking that the shortening up horses with the speed, I get a small piece. Super Child to me is tough to like at a short price. His numbers aren't big enough disparity for me, but as Seth said, kudos to the connections here. I think they recognize we have a very nice sprinter. You would kind of think he's by Lord Nelson. And Seth, Lord Nelson is on that heat for me when I talk about that time between the entries of the Breeders' Cup being taken and running. Lord Nelson was my choice in the sprint about 6 years ago, and he is one of those horses that scratched in that small window between post positions being drawn. Remember, I was out there at Santa Anita, I ran into Steve Dickey, introduced me to a couple of people who were watching workouts, and it comes on, Lord Nelson's been, it was like Thursday, Lord Nelson's been scratched from the sprint. So 1, 2, 6 in a very intriguing swell.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll finish up Gulfstream, switch attention and review to Tampa, all of that right after this. Stay tuned.
You're clear.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
This is a championship meet. All the best jockeys are over there. And I'm excited for driving through. Get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes today.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of their racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
30 seconds.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
15.
My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, breed apart.
Welcome back to Handicappers Report on Saturday, February 4th. We will kick back into Gulfstream with race number 7, optional claimer with the seat condition, 7.5 on the grass.
427 for me, and the 4 goes out for Bill Mott, making the 3rd start in the United States. Ran in July at Newmarket. First United States race was at Keeneland in October, and he comes off back-to-back 5th place finishes, but he's an offspring of the brilliant Kingman, who middle distance turf is his forte, up and coming out for Juddmont in very capable hands. For second, number 2, Shadow Sphinx, like Maker sends out this runner, throwing out the Fort Lauderdale effort where we just trailed the field throughout there. Before that, razor sharp in the Artie Schiller up at the Big A, and for third, number 7, Lucky Curlin, we certainly hope so today, shipping down from Canada, 427.
Optional claimers, now the winners are one other than in race number 8 at Gulfstream. They will travel the 1-turn mile.
And these are the 3-year-olds, so you kind of look around, and I think 7-1-6. You're not a hockey guy, as I remember correctly, but if you were a New York Rangers fan, it's 7-1-6. This is the Rangers sport. Igor Shchersky, who's in the All-Star game this weekend. Tremendous goal.
What is Shchersky?
Yes.
So I
Igor
this afternoon.
Yeah. That's how it sounds, even though the letters are tough.
I would have
to
said
get.
Chesterton.
Yes.
So I would have.
That's okay. I remember when we used to have we used to have trouble with Tays on ice, and you went at it one time, and I let it go. I go, "You're not familiar with who this person is."
I was a hockey for the 2 years I was at RPI. I was a hockey fan.
Yeah.
And then I went to Syracuse, and I went more mainstream.
Yeah. I think you went to television, which makes sense if you don't know who Jonathan Tays is. But this is a Ranger goalie. So, have you ever met Bob LaPenza?
No.
I have. I mean, the reason I mention this, he's just an incredibly easy guy to meet. I mean, he's, sometimes you see these names and you're thinking unapproachable. Bob's on the other side of the spectrum. He'd be more apt to go up to you, Seth, I love your show. You'd be like, who are you? And he'd introduce himself. And so obviously when I see him next, he has to be a Rangers fan. So, first time versus winners gets Lasix today. It's not Igor Shoshukin, but that's who the Rangers goalie is. For second, Tappet Trice. Todd Fletcher's runner gets Lasix today. Takes on winners for the first time. And a lot, these Lasix today, he's got a 2-year-old, 3-year-old thing. For third, Emperor's Appeal. Brian Lynch's runner takes on winners for the first time. Also, for the third career side, 7-1-6, and I think is an intriguing 3-year-old allowance race.
You alluded to it earlier,
yeah.
3-year-olds on the turf in the Kitten's Joy. They'll go a mile and a 16.
And I did this the other day, mostly because Seth has talked, and rightfully so, not only his level of enjoyment for this subset of 3-year-olds on the turf, so much attention gets taken to the other ones, and you give kudos to the group that realize, but I just want to go through a couple of stats of the horses that have won this race. This was eye-popping for me. Lost the final 14, lost the next 23, 0 for 19, 0 for 15, 0 for 10, 1 for 16, 0 for 8. The only horse, 1 for 21. The only horse that's done anything out of this race was Casa Creek, who was 5. Now, this also surprised me. But for Casa Creek, was 5 for 24 after that. 2 Jaipurs, which we remember, the 4-star Dave, and the Hall of Fame. So he's the high watermark, but he was only 5 for 24. But as I went through these, I was like, maybe you don't want to win this race. This is, I don't do this for all the races, but I kind of started doing it, and I added up. This is, what I was trying to get to, and I'm not, and Ken Ramsey's won a couple of these, and Kitten's Joy has been the Austin with a couple of them. What I was trying to get to by making the point is, it seems to be very random. Like nobody came out of here with like a career. So it was like today is the day. So I started to think, early season, 3-year-old turf race, just taking a shot. This is your day. There didn't seem to be any form coming out of this race. So I'm 5-4-1, and hopefully Lights On of Broadway will have a better career than practically every single winner of the 3-year-old Kitten's Joy race. But I've never come across such a rough patch. All right, Lights of Broadway, the familiar silks of Mr. Oxley. Mark Cassidy sends out this runner. First 3 career starts were on synthetic, won the second one. Turf debut was the most recent effort, a very good effort in the pulpit. I guess you could say that would be the prep race for this. That was 7.5. Now we're going to mile and 16. I have number 5, Lights of Broadway, on top. For second, number 4, Major Jude, Todd Fletcher's runner, coming out of the Dana Beach, which is, I misspoke, was obviously, was the pulpit, then the Dana Beach, then the Kitten's Joy. Boy, I said, we got a complete run. This has got to be like 5 races, because I know the Palm Beach is the last one, and then Kennedy, number 1, who I actually think is the horse to beat in this race, making every pole a winning one in the Dana Beach. 5-4-1. In what, forgetting what I said at the beginning, I think is a very intriguing race. And what I like to look at, you're like, well, if Kennedy won, I cannot see it going 0 for 16. But I think when a lot of these horses won it, it'd be like,
This thing.
I don't think
No,
you're
that,
going.
when you look at historical trends that jump out that powerfully, you have to pay attention.
What it kind of indicated to me was, and this is the next part that plays into it. This lesson. So this is like this is got the 12 run. There's only been 1 chalk ever won, which is also rare. The chalk's winning out like 10-9% of this race. So that's atypical. Also, so what I was trying to get at, the randomness of today, and because it's so random, this is your high water mark for your career. Today was your day, but on here it looks like we got a couple of horses that might have it.
The 10th this afternoon, the Forward Gal, 3-year-old fillies going a quick 7 furlongs.
697 Lynx is my top pick coming out of the Cash Run Stakes, shortens up to 7 furlongs. Now, did run 1 turn going the mile in the Cash Run. For second, number 9, Positano Sunset. If you've ever seen one, you're in a good boat. Makes the seasonal debut, takes on winners for the first time. And for third, number 7, Undervalued Asset. I'm going to be intrigued to see what they bet this runner down to. Explosive on debut, 7-2 in the second career start. This horse debuted on the eve of Veterans Day. 6-9-7 for Chad and Carvage.
10th, the
She
11th.
can't be that price.
No, I wouldn't think so. The 11th at Gulfstream, the Swedish chant, 3-year-old fillies on the turf, 1 mile and 16.
8-3-7, Heavenly Sunday, gets my top pick. Chalk in both career starts. 1, turfing, Indiana, Indiana Grand, but Horseshoe, and then at Keeneland against Winners, makes the States debut today. Number 8, Heavenly Sunday, my top pick. Number 3, Jack Sisterson sends out this second time United States horse. He used to be in the barn of Joe O'Brien, won on debut in a 14-horse field, and then won the Wait a While Stakes for third. Cairo, number 7, Cairo Consort, 2-1, second time out of the tie. Fletcher Barn, 8-3-7.
We will wrap it up at about 5:45 this evening with the Holy Bull, race number 12, grade 3 event, $250,000 up for grabs, 8.5.
Did you have a big opinion on this race? I asked this. I
No.
did not.
No, I mean,
Okay.
I
feel
defaulted to Cyclone Mischief, but I wouldn't, can
My
you put two
second choice.
together like that? I don't know.
All right. I think it's a wide open race. 8-4-1 for me. Rocket Can gets my top pick. The other is a Mischief for Bill Mott making the seasonal debut. Won in the slop. Took on Winners. I thought raced well. November 26th at Churchill for second. The morning line favorite at 2-1. Cyclone Mischief. A very good performance in the one-turn mile against Winners, and for third, Lord Miles. As blinkers say, the offspring of Perlin, those 2 turns for the first time. 8-4-1, what I think is a very contentious Holy Bull.
Yeah, they were 4-8, so we're in the same spot.
All right, let's take one more break, and we'll come back and shift our attention to Tampa. Stay tuned.
You're clear.
Birdstone is an outside threat. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. To the hard one. Here comes Hot Shot Moreno. Hot Shot Moreno, the defending champ, to take it to Paul Brown. These two arch rivals have the head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse battle for each of the turn. Here's the wire.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
30 seconds.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, taking the Cross Bronx Expressway over to the western part of Florida. We turn our
Alligator Alley.
I thought Alligator Alley takes you to Naples.
Well, if you can take Alligator Alley, go.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's really what it's called, right? Alligator
Because
Alley.
I think when I took a Tampa to Gulfstream trip, and I think
Did you?
that's
Okay.
exactly what I did.
All right, the opener, 6 furlongs, claimers in for 5, non-winners, 6 months.
4, 5, 1, and 6. I'll put Old Time Revival on top. Trainers just having a really good meet over here at Tampa. Bring some horses over from Gulfstream, doing very well with them. I think this horse could continue that trend at the bottom level, drop to bottom level at Gulfstream in September and was claimed. Now, doesn't thrill me that the horse was on the sidelines since the claim, but again, with this trainer and the most recent workout looking okay, I'll go there. As for Bodie in the second spot, then again, bouncing around the bottom level, but kind of competitive. Certainly that race 2 back is easily good enough to compete here. And again, at this level, they're all a little bit inconsistent, but this one throws races that are clearly good enough. And maximum factor in the third spot hasn't been seen since Presque Isle in September. So again, a little bit of a layoff off a claim is a concern. And this one, as opposed to the top one, the workouts aren't quite as good. but when I got down to the third spot, I was just kind of, I'm searching the whole race, but down to the third spot particularly, so I land there. Not a whole lot of confidence, but in the opener, I have a 4-5.
Second half of the early daily double going 6 Phillies and Mariners. Maybe players in for 10.
5, 1, 9, and 8. Funny enough on top. Again, comes over from Gulfstream. I think the venue class relief is notable, but also getting a little bit of price class relief. Did drop in for a tag last time. It showed some punch before fading. Should benefit from that first start off the layup. Again, another half step of price relief, and the venue move should move this horse forward. Second spot, feel like guessing. Costed a clunker last time at this level, but two back ran very well. So again, get down to this level, they could be a little bit inconsistent, but I'll hope for a better effort. And that last one does look like something of an aberration. And then Redzilla in the third spot. He bouncing back and forth from turf to dirt, and he's been doing so as far as the numbers pretty consistently. The finishing position, however, is better on the dirt, and the cutback today is also intriguing. 5-1 on the morning line. You get that, or this one clicks up a little bit, becomes interesting, as I say. Given that, maybe if you draw a line through those last two turf races, this horse would attract a little more attention. In the second at Tampa, 5-1, 9, and 10.
On to third, claimers in for 8,000, non-winners of 3 lifetime, racing 7/8.
1, 8, 7, and 2, Creative Cloud. Again, trainer, same trainer I talked about in the opener, who just having a really good meet, and this one is in good form. Came over from Gulfstream and has put in a couple of starts at Tampa so far. They've been an okay second, an okay third. Also comes in like the horse in the first race with a nice little workout under the belt, 7th best with 108. So Creative Cloud on top. Pumps in the second spot. Hasn't been seen since October at Crest Isle. But I think it's going to fit okay with this bunch. Again, it's a fairly weak group. This one may be a little bit undefined as far as dirt, because most of the races on the page are synthetic and turf. So again, we'll find out a little bit more about this one, but I thought at a price, maybe it tossed that one in the mix. Again, wondering about the surface switch. And then Gerald Bennett has his triumph. Bennett just does so well here at Tampa. You always have to look at his. Certainly has an okay record at Tampa. Hasn't been seen, however, since September at Monmouth. But I think given it's Gerald Bennett, and, the workouts aren't popping off the page, but they're okay. I think has to be in the mix in the third at Tampa. 1, 8, 7, 2.
On to the fourth race, we have Phillies and Mariners in for 8, non-winners of 2 lifetime, going 6.5.
1, 7, 3, and 8. I'll put Lightning It Twisted on top. Another trainer who's doing very well. Sammy Camacho rides. He, of course, does very well down there at Tampa, and this one comes in good form. Had a July to January layoff and came back and just missed last time. Should benefit from that and be tighter today and climb for a good effort. Raw Honey in the second spot. Nice run last time to finish up just behind the top pick. So one of those you kind of like one, you have to like the other. And then in the third spot, Maracas Bay comes over from, came over actually earlier for Seth and Joseph, but now seems to have been here at Tampa for a while. Raced on December 16th. Clunked a little bit there as a workout earlier in January, but comes back for a reduced rate, and I think that's going to be key to putting this one in the hunt today in the fourth of Tampa. 1, 7, 3, and 8.
On to the fifth, 3-year-olds on the turf, optionals in for 75, non-winners of 1 other than a mile at 16.
I have it 7, 3, 5, and 8. Talk of the nation on top. It's a Shug McGahee trainee. And it's a little bit interesting in that Shug brings this one over from the Payson Park base and tries the turf this afternoon. Won the debut at Aqueduct going 6 furlongs against Maiden Specialist, then came down to Gulfstream on the dirt at a mile and wound up running a well-beaten 6th. And then they say, hey, let's go over to Tampa and try the turf. I just found that intriguing. Sammy Camacho elects to hit the ride, and again, at a 92 morning line could be a little bit interesting. Classic Creation, nice win to break the maiden last time in the 4th career start. Debuted up at Saratoga, was well beaten in 2 starts there, but again, seemed to have that proverbial light bulb moment perhaps last time and rambled plays. going out for Mike Navy. I mean, down there at Tampa, off not much of a start last time, but the winner there was Candidate, who we mentioned when we talked about the 3-year-olds on the turf, cross state in the stakes race. So that may have been a salty little addition of that optional claim. We'll look for a better result today, and maybe the price too. And a 12-to-1 morning line, that was definitely worth a look. In the 5th at Tampa, 7, 3, 5, and 8.
The 6th made the special race. They rarely run the distance in the United States of a mile 40 yards.
I have a 3, 8, 7, and 6, just my own. A sibling too. Mind That Bird. Mind That Bird,
Wow.
the 2009 Kentucky Derby winner at 50-1. But some of the siblings were okay, including Mind That Bird. With Justify on top and
What
Todd
I have
Fletcher
to say is
training.
I beat him up a lot. Right, he was the 2-year-old Canadian champ, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was over after the Derby, but he was a
He
2-year-old
came in and
champ.
actually had a little something you
Yeah.
could have jumped on for the 50-1. But like I say, there's some siblings that did okay. Justify on top, Todd Fletcher training, Winstar and Company owning, and they come over to debut at Tampa. I'll go with that one on top. Second slot, I'm going to take a look at number 8, Volatility. First couple of starts, weren't much, but on the numbers that, those races put this one in the hunt with this group. Third spot, I'll go with Patience Worth, going out for Owen Hardy and Godolphin. First 3 starts of the career, the number has improved in all of those, and now stretches out to 2 turns, and I think that could be a little bit interesting as well. I looked at Abby's Plaid at 15-1 by Gunrunner, the Gunrunner first-time starters, but they have a lower percentage trainer, and the one racing sibling was 0 for 3, so I couldn't quite pull the trigger on number 4. But if you get a price, the first-timer by Gunrunner, I wouldn't argue anything off of that necessarily, but I went 3, 8, 7, and 6.
Stakes action in the 7th race for Phillies and Merrow. The Endeavor at a mile and 60.
Yeah, nice little stake start down there this afternoon. I have it 6, 11, 2, and 4. I'll put market segmentation on top. 4, as the name might suggest, Chad Brown and Klarovich. Couple of wins, a bookending, a second place finish in the 3 starts so far. They've been kind of well spaced, and so I'm a little bit leery on that, other than the fact that now the horse strings a couple together, so maybe that's a good sign. Certainly it's hard to knock what we've seen so far. So market segmentation on top. Second slot, I'm going to go up to number 11, Scottish Star. It's Todd Fletcher coming cross state. Tried the Swanee River at Gulfstream on New Year's Eve. Was right up in the mix before fading a little bit as the 2-1 favorite. I think a rebound could absolutely be in the cards here for a better effort, but the outside post position is no bonus. Surprisingly, in the 3rd spot, Chad McGahee trainee coming cross state after a good second place finish in the Tropical Park Oats. Fairly lightly raced, but 4 exacta finishes and 6 starts so far. So a nice talented runner from notable connections. Yeah, Phipps.
Not many left.
Yeah, no, you're right. You don't see that many with Shug and obviously the famous Phipps. So it's
On Twitter, they put a lot. They often, about the only time I see them on Twitter, it seems that the big favorites offsprings that they have relationships. They just don't run their horses anymore. On to the 8th race, 3-year-olds maiden special race going 6.
In the 8 at Tampa, for me, 4, 8, 3, and 2. City Humor on top. Couple of starts at Colonial August and September, then laid out to the middle of January right here at Tampa, and that was a much improved effort, as can happen with these 2-year-olds to 3-year-olds. Couple of starts, being lightly raced, you get a break, you come back, you're improved. This horse did it. I think that bodes well for this afternoon. Fire Baron in the 2nd spot. The cutback to me is intriguing for this horse, who on the numbers matches up really well with this bunch. I'm going to be interested to see how it shakes out odds-wise. I wouldn't be surprised if Fire Baron takes some action. City Humor is a half a tick morning line favorite, however. We'll see. Graphene Pesach in the 3rd spot. Showed a little life here at Tampa last time before fading. That was at a mile. Blinkers come off today. Cuts back to the 6 furlongs. Sammy Camacho on board. Wouldn't be surprised to see an improved effort there. I have it 4, 8, 3, and 2.
More stakes action in the 9th race. Older horses going mile and 16th on the turf in Tampa Bay.
This is a really competitive bunch. I have it 4, 6, 10, and 7. I'm intrigued to see what Mighty Heart can do. Mighty Heart, folks may remember the 2020 winner of the Queen's Plate and the Prince of Wales. Came down to Tampa last time and won an optional claimer. I didn't use that one, but I'm intrigued to see what Mighty Heart can do. But again, I'm 4, 6, 10, and 7. Win from within, fourth in the Fort Lauderdale last time over at Gulfstream. You go down the page, this horse shows plenty of speed and has the ability to win on the front end, and I think this horse could be very, very intriguing with a catch me if you can scenario. Emmanuel for Todd Fletcher. Horse that started the career with a lot of promise, including an optional claiming win right here at Tampa last January of 2022. That was on the dirt, however. They ran through that optional claiming win, then went to the Fountain Youth, then the Bluegrass, and then they tried the turf and won the first turf race, a stake at Belmont, and then the Saratoga Derby. The horse absolutely clunked. They've been on the sidelines since, so obviously something went awry. But Emmanuel comes back here, and being from Fletcher and Windstar and Company, I would expect a good effort. Shape here in the third spot, nice triple-digit Buyer Stakes win at Laurel in the latest, but the latest was last April. This horse comes back ready to roll. Watch out. In the ninth, I have a 4, 6, 10, and 7.
And the finale, 4-year-olds and up, entry-level allowance, a mile on this one.
2, 10, 5, and 7, just in time for wine. I'm going to draw a line through the last race. Again, it's one of those that looks like an aberration, given what this horse normally does, in the races just prior to that. So I'll look for a rebound to a better effort for a horse that tends to show a little bit of early speed too, in a race that overall there may be one or two others that potentially could show some. I don't think they're going to outrun those just in time for wine. School of Things would maybe take them all the way around. We'll take a look at number 10, Raising Moon in the second spot. If things do collapse, this may be the one that does kind of sit in the back and counts late, and then Rock the Stars in the third spot. I think a better effort from this one might put it in the thick of things, but a little bit inconsistent overall. But I think probably becomes competitive with this particular group today. In the 10th at Tampa, 2, 10, 5.
People can see, I know your paper clips have no significance, correct? It's just whatever you got. During Saratoga, we have 3 days. Green beans go is the day that I'm using, or else I could
I kind of like that
out of the
method, but
house.
it's too much work for me.
The green one I have to have. The rest doesn't matter. The next day, the day before, the day before, the day before, the day after. But I need that green beans go to make sure I look into that backpack that green one is in there. That is probably I don't know how many phobias I have in life, but it is one that I've had since I've been doing this, that I go to the work without my work.
I have had it happen once or twice.
I've had it happen once.
Luckily, there's a printer right here.
The 2 things that happened to me not good was, that was one, and the other time was, I was assigned parts, and I think it might be the only day I've ever been assigned parts. I downloaded the wrong days. Oh my goodness, but that is my fear. So with mine, the green one is the one that I always have to take when we go to Saratoga when I have multiples. Who's up next on Racing Across America?
Top of the hour, we will be joined by Jeremy Plum, and it's a little bit of an abbreviated edition. We'll wind up at about 10:45 because with the 11:50 post time on Gulfstream, the pregame will start at about 10:50. So we'll get off a little bit before that. We'll talk 3-year-olds and the Holy Bull and the Bob Lewis with Jeremy Plum, firstplayernow.com, and countdown to the crown.
Yeah, we've talked about it for years. This day and age, prep racing season for the Kentucky Derby is 2 races, maybe 3, and the Holy Bull is one of the major ones today.
People are still talking about, the last couple of weeks, allowance winners. They're like, oh, yeah, this one's just kind of broke the allowance. Or, there was a maiden race the other day where
a big one, yeah.
People were kind of like, oh, maybe they...
Well, the bottom line is that you better run well in the last prep race where all the points are, because it seems to me if you run first or second in those races, I probably looked this up, you probably would never have been excluded, right? Because there's been years like 20 points.
Yeah.
Most years 20 points to get you in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay warm out there. It is going to be a tough day, but Gulfstream Park in Tampa will be front and center on the network. So as Seth likes to say, we do it vicariously through those smart people. He stays, I go. Have a great Saturday.
You're clear.
You're watching OTB TV, the service of Capital Off Track Betting.